My name is Yevgenia Shockome. My court case started in Dutchess County, New York, in Poughkeepsie, and continued in Karnes and Atascosa County, Texas. I am biological mother to two children, Alex and Victoria. They are ages 15 and 17 today. I am a naturalized citizen of the United States, originally from Moscow, Russia. My case started when I filed for divorce in 2000 in August, trying to leave my abusive husband, Timothy Shockome. And divorce finished only in 2006. For this long period of time, my children and myself have been dragged through the court process by several what I call bloodsuckers who ripped us of normal lives, relationship, finances, our health, and our successful and happy future. My ex-husband, on another hand, has been issued over 15 orders of protection against him, spent time in jail for domestic violence, had school and neighbors call Child Protective Services on him for sexually inappropriate conduct with our children, for leaving them alone in a car, for beating them, and for neglecting them. Witnesses testified that my ex-husband abused myself and children. Expert witnesses testified that he was not a fit parent and should not have unsupervised access to our kids due to his sexual deviances. My ex-husband did not want to have children, to take care of them, or pay child support, so he told me to go back to my he cursed F-U-C-K-I-N-G Russia with my F-U-C-K-I-N-G children, or he promised if I don't, he will make my life hell. But as soon as judge had granted him a free appointed attorney and assigned legal guardian to our children, he switched custody to my ex-husband, making sure money would be paid behind the scenes. Immediately, my ex-husband had cut all contact and visitation between me and my kids, so I could not interfere with this money laundering process, and my kids would not open up about abuse they suffered. Although my ex-husband had found by federal judge to be extorting me, and that's U.S. Code 1961, Section 1961 of Article 18, he was never prosecuted or put in jail for that. New York judge and then Texas judge, on opposite, had ordered me to pay my extorting ex-husband enormous child support monthly, garnished from my paycheck, until today, for 10 years. My ex-husband continues to extort me by demanding more money all the time, on top of child support that he gets monthly in exchange for visitation. Judge keep letting him to garnish my paycheck more and more, and I had not access to my kids since 2005, with exception of very brief and bitter access in 2009. My story, which is unfortunately true and has been my life for 12 years, involves perverse details of my ex-husband group sex fantasies, which he attempted to impose on me on multiple occasions, to be literally treated like a slave to the court system of Judge Damien Amodio of Dutchess County, New York, and Judge Fred Shannon in Karnes, Atascosa County, Texas. That I had less rights that most convicted people in jail have with their children after custody was taken away from me. Perhaps that has been most shocking that in the short weeks after I filed a federal civil rights lawsuit in 2005 to assert and protect my federal constitutional rights and named Judge Damien Amodio as one of the defendants, this judge illegally and wrongfully jailed me for alleged contempt that the judge set up in the first place, and did so by jailing me for 30 days without bail while I was 7 months pregnant, and while permitting my two children live with their father, abusive father, to permanently relocate to Texas against my children's will and desires. The contempt consisted of me saying word objection, which I was trying to protect my right to appeal, and that I had no attorney, and for stating the judge was lying, which he actually was lying, because he tried to put obviously wrong information on a record, such as the amount of my salary, in denial of already taped proof of supervisor sleeping on a job when she was supposed to supervise. She spent time in prison after that. My story combines human struggle with human and civil injustice, exorbitant and corrupt fees through a network of connected parties, and civil liberty violations and outright abuses of power. This all happened to me, hardworking, honest, caring, outgoing mother of two children, a Russian native in country, and I was not versed in law or government or politics or connections in America, all while being an educated employee, an engineer, and gold medal winner in track and field events in New York and nationally. I'm a national champion in track and field in 2006. I have been named also Mother of the Year in Dutchess County, New York. For the first 3 years after I filed for divorce, I was going through Dutchess family court, losing time with my children little by little. During the first trial, I had 8 notarial witnesses, father had none. All witnesses were testifying about father's inferior parenting skills, abusive and neglectful nature, and all of them spoke very highly of me as a mother. After 4 days of extremely favorable to me trial, I was pressured into joint custody by law guardian Gary Lane, Judge Amodio, and my own lawyer, Michael Kranis. I was told that if I didn't agree, I would lose custody. And then I was ordered to pay law guardian Gary Lane for his legal services. He billed New York State for his services as well at the same time. And I have proof of that. And while he was paid, I found out later Gary Lane legal license was suspended. 1 month after the joint custody stipulation, the father filed for sole custody and got it right away. The basis was 2 phone calls that the basis on the record that judge explained was that 2 phone calls that father had missed with our children, and that he was nevertheless was allowed to call them daily. I was ordered to go through supervised visitation. From being the closest person, the dearly loved mother, the caring mother, the protective mother, I went to childless mother who was not allowed to see her children. On that tragic day, I kissed my children goodbye to school, promised to pick them up at 2:45 p.m. and went to court for just regular hearing. The kids went to school looking forward to a great weekend for all 3 of us. Without a trial, without any evidential hearing, judge switched custody to my ex, and I was ordered into supervised visitation. My ex picked the kids up from school, told them that I had moved far away and don't want them anymore. I had not seen my kids for almost 6 weeks after that. Then I had a visit with them for 45 minutes, at which they both cried and glued to me, telling me that their father had told them that I moved away and that they want to go home with me now. And they said, "Mommy, can we go home now?" "Yes, Mommy." And supervisor yelled at me, saying that if I don't stop children from crying, she would end our visit, since I was making children upset. I was ordered never speak our native language, Russian, anymore, and that I only speak English. At first, I had very hard time to understand my own children. And they were very hard time understanding my accent, because I always spoke Russian before. After this, I was allowed only 1 hour and a half a month supervised with a supervisor who behaved like a Nazi in concentration camp. That's maybe overstatement, but that's how I felt about it. From the start of the custody case, the father was given a free assigned attorney by Judge Amodio, although my ex-husband did not qualify. There was a new law guardian assigned by Judge Amodio named Frank Marocco in New York, who billed New York State for extensive hours, which he supposedly spent on my case. In 1 year, he fraudulently billed the state for 300 hours. Just for my case alone, law guardian Marocco was saying that to the court that children were doing fine. My daughter had lost all her eyelashes, and she looked frail, and my son had lost all his friends, made class presentations all about his love for me, his mom, because he was very depressed and loner, and he also tried to run away from his father to me. And still law guardian Frank Marocco, was going to court and saying the children were doing fine. Same day his father got custody, he filed for child support. I paid him up to over $150,000 to this day. Today is October 2012. And father still owed me money for the time that kids were in my custody. And he was always dead and a bum. He didn't really hold a job for a long time. And judge didn't care. He just wiped all out his debt to me and made me owe to him. And I actually was very shocked to know that after I've been a victim of abuse and victim of crime by ex-husband, that I was the one who had to pay huge money on a regular basis to the very person who committed crime against me. I became a cash cow, and my case provided a perfect avenue to make fraudulent money for all the bloodsuckers, how I call them. My kids become hostages, and I'm working full-time as software engineer at biggest corporation for last 14 years, and I'm paying huge child support. I haven't seen my kids for almost 3 years today. My ex had 3 foreign wives and refused to support either of his wives or kids. He leached off our money, our paychecks, our inheritances. He starved me and my kids in the beginning when we just got together, and provided nothing for several years until I got a job. When I did get a job, and then I was able to file for divorce from him, he leached off my income by stealing my kids and garnishing my paycheck. During the course of several years of my experience with American justice system, this is the following happened. I made the list of several violations because if I tell my story, I will talk for 5 hours non-stop. So I just made the list of most outrageous violations. I had exposed the local supervisor, visitation program director Viola Stroud, causing her to be prosecuted and got her business closed for fraud and neglect on the job. She was indicted and spent time in prison. I taped her while she was sleeping at a supervised visit with my children. She falsified all her reports to the court, but they were used against me anyhow. In short, I was ordered into supervised visitation by a criminal, and her lying reports were used to fix my court case against me and against my kids. Right after the sleeping accident, next day, and then 2-3 times a week, for several weeks, Judge Amodio called me into court for a hearing, he called, and demanded that tape that I made of the supervisor. He threatened me with jail if I don't turn it to him, demanded the original. I refused, but later gave him the copy. He asked the guards to surround me with handcuffs, said he would put me in jail if I don't bring original tape to next hearing in court. And as I told you, it happened 2-3 times a week. And I was pregnant at that time. I have transcript, all well documented. It was brutal. He wanted this tape, original, so he could destroy it. He loved Viola Stroud since she helped him to fix cases. Then he realized I gave tape to the media, an administrative judge. That's when he went berserk on me. During one of the conferences, I objected to Judge Amodio ruling to send my children to Texas, 2,000 miles away, and he put me in jail for 30 days for saying word objection out of turn. I was 7 months pregnant. I didn't have any lawyer. The judge was furious, and I could not. He was also furious that I had to stop working because I had complications. I was already 7 months pregnant, and I couldn't work full time. So the child support stopped for a little while, and for like a week. And this is the judge who was saying in the court, who is going to support the father? He didn't even say the kids. She said, who's going to support the father? And after that, he was so furious that child support stopped and that I filed a federal lawsuit. He sentenced me for 30 days in jail with no bail, and that was Mother's Day. I spent whole Mother's Day in jail while my kids have been in a car with their abusive father. I wasn't presenting a threat to anyone, so why put me away? I was trying to get to see my kids, which I was not allowed by judge. My ex-husband would not allow any visitation while extorting me, and judge would do nothing, even going to lengths of canceling visitation altogether and ordering more child support to be garnished from my paycheck and be given to my ex. Some of the transcripts of proceedings in my case were erased or gone or disappeared under mysterious circumstances, while Judge Amodio of New York knew about it, but he kept silent about it. I found out later that it was a federal crime. And I have proof to show how it was very suspicious that he knew and he never told anybody. Judge Amodio of New York imposed a gag order on all proceedings. And he said, nobody can speak about this case with anyone. And he failed to put this order in writing, so it was impossible to appeal. Then my ex-husband was walking in my private property, picking in my windows and threatening me with fists. I took my camera and I need to say that my ex-husband's father is a gun dealer in Texas. So all his threats were very based with guns. So I was really scared for my life. So I took my camera and took pictures of him so I would have evidence in court. I filed for order of protection. So did my ex-husband at the same time. He was on my property, private property, walking. I claimed that he trespassed, stalked me, harassed me. He claimed I was harassing him because I took pictures of him. Although he was physically on my private property, he claimed he was walking and exercising. Judge denied me protective orders despite previous jailing on my ex for domestic violence and numerous previous orders of protection against him. Judge granted my ex-husband protective order against me, in which he put the statement prohibiting me from contacting my kids, and children were not even present during this stalking accident. During the hearing, on a record, Judge Amodio responded to my husband going naked in front of my children. That's one of the things that my ex-husband had done that I had problem with. He was going naked in front of my kids. And sometimes he would just even have erect genitals when he was doing this. But the judge responded that it was a good practice. And I have transcript of that. Because he was thinking that since some people decide to send the children to nudist camps, that it may introduce nudity at an early age and desensitize kids later for not being very sexually crazy. And I have transcript of the judge saying this. I actually filed this statement with Judicial Commission on Conduct with, in New York, and they said there was nothing wrong with that. They dismissed my complaint. That was one of the things in the complaint. Also, Judge Amodio in New York stated on the record that he doesn't care if I get custody of my kids back or I don't get my custody of my kids back ever, because he was paid anyway. That's what he said. I don't care. I get paid anyway, every week. Judge Amodio, my ex, and his attorney violated federal bankruptcy law and were found in contempt of federal court. The last two were ordered to pay for the violation, although all three conspired to violate federal bankruptcy law. I have transcript and federal orders. Federal judge called it an extortion of me. That's her words, the judge words in a transcript. My ex-husband and his attorney were never prosecuted in criminal court. I took evidence of the crime extortion to district attorney first in New York, then in Texas, but both of these officers declined to prosecute my ex and his attorney and the judge, Amodio. And also Judge Amodio had no right to issue any order because federal judge in bankruptcy put a stay on him, saying he could not make any orders. But he still made other orders issued against me for more judgment to pay for my ex-husband, and I could not do anything about it. They just go into my paycheck, they take money and give it to my ex. So he's extorting me, but he gets more and more money from me anyway. So for me, the way I look at it is the judges participate in extortion, and they have no problem doing this. And I appealed and showed this to appellate court and showed that it was the orders were entered during the stay. A federal stay, which is illegal, they still didn't do anything, and still tens of thousands of dollars were taken out of my paycheck and given to my extortionist husband. Judge Amodio had a law clerk all the time that I was going to his court for several years, and the name was Joanne Posner. And Joanne Posner's husband had been an adversarial attorney to me in federal court. I filed several motions trying to recuse Judge Amodio based on that connection, but all my motions were denied. Later, Judge Amodio retired. I will explain here. And he was replaced with Joanne Posner as the judge. So now I had a judge who actually had her husband against me in the federal court, and she still denied my motion for recusal. And it's what I know, it's illegal and unethical for a judge to do that. My ex-husband's attorney, who was appointed to him for free by Judge Amodio in New York, his name is Philip Kenny. He lied over and over, easy to prove, and I've proven it in my complaints. One day he would say one thing, next day another. And when I filed, and he also called me on the record an ugly woman. He called me a serial murderer. He called me abusive woman. And I asked Judge Amodio, is he going to do anything about it? Because it was very disruptive to me and insulting, and Judge Amodio didn't do anything. He didn't hold Philip Kenny in contempt. He didn't hold him accountable. I have a transcript. And when I filed a complaint with bar on Philip Kenny's ethics, it was dismissed by State Bar in New York. I had a baby in 2008, and I had to take some time off work again due to complications. That's my second baby, which is with me. And Judge Posner, whose husband, my adversarial attorney, refused to stop child support obligations. So they took all my disability payments and even when I had to stay off work, I had no money, and everything was given to my ex. And he was still extorting my ex-husband. He was telling me that I have to give him more and more money, and not even child support. He told me, give me 10,000, maybe you see your kids. That's what he was saying to me. But the judge said that I chose to disable myself by keeping the baby and not get an abortion. So since I disabled myself, means that my child support should continue rolling. And actually, they took it at double rate at that time, to $2,500 a month. I filed numerous complaints with State Bar and American Bar, with Judicial Commission and with Inspector General of New York, with Attorney General of New York, and District Attorney of Dutchess County, and all professional boards I could that had any connection. And all complaints were dismissed and ignored. However, when I collected physical evidence of fraudulent billing, that Judge Amodio's signature on fraudulent bills, it brought some change into my case. Judge Amodio suddenly retired from judicial office, although he did take a job in legal system anyway. It's like me starting to, wash up floors instead of doing software engineer work right now. Although I still respect people who wash the floors. And that my ex-husband had fled the country. He fled to United Kingdom, and my case was immediately sent to Texas for custody and visitation issues. I still lived in New York when this happened, and I was devastated because Texas is 2,000 miles away. I had no attorney, I had no money to hire, and my ex was extorting me. Fortunately for me, a national organization, which is called Justice for Children, had taken over my case and filed in Texas. During first three hearings, I was granted temporary custody, and my ex-husband was found in violation of visitation orders. The date was set for final trial on custody. It appeared that I would finally get my kids back because my ex-husband violations and total denial of visitation coupled with extortion. However, temporary custody had expiration date, and my ex-husband played delay games, and I had to turn kids over back to him. Over next year, he was able to postpone the custody hearing, while I was denied all access to my kids and had to pay huge child support to him. During this time, the Texas judge was replaced with visiting Judge Fred Shannon of Texas, who issued all orders against me, despite all evidence and prior orders of my ex-husband violation and extortion. I was put back on supervised visitation. My child support was increased, now pay $1,500 a month, and new monetary judgments were issued against me. It appears as new visiting Texas judge Fred Shannon is actively participating in extortion and helping my ex to extort me. I can't get visitation. I called police and made police reports for interference. Yet nobody prosecuted my ex. I have police reports, but nobody's doing anything about them. I went to district attorney office, and then I found out later that district attorney is friend of my ex-husband's attorney. My daughter contacted me in September with several emails which contained words: "Mama, save me. Do something to help me. He abuses me." My daughter is 15 today. And she also said, "This house reminds me of hell." Her half-brother was found dead in January 2012. He was very depressed and hated his father, my ex-husband. I can't help my daughter. I can't save her. I filed motions in court, but they were ignored by new visiting Judge Fred Shannon. Motions now sit on judge's desk. I can't see my kids. I can't help my kids. I can't save my daughter. And I must pay $1,500 a month child support to my ex-husband, which is garnished directly from my paycheck. I am one of the 10 petitioners in the class action suit to Inter-American Commission on Human Rights, filed by international attorney Diane Post. This lawsuit is moving along in the international court now. Since me and my children did not get justice from American courts, I hope to get some justice from this legal international action. Judges, what I'm asking if could be done by Congress or senators, that judges should not have immunity when they knowingly break the law or break the Constitution or extort people. And guardian ad litems and everybody who's connected to the case, when they break the law or do some criminal acts, should have no immunity. Custody evaluators included should not have any immunity. And nobody in court system should have no immunity, because it only helps them commit crimes, because they think they have protection by immunity. And what I think, the judges should never be attorneys, but they should be common people. They may have clerk attorneys who's going to help them to do research for them. I understand they need to know the law, but they should be also not in office for life. They should be replaced regularly, let's say every 2 years. So no turnaround will guarantee that nobody gets too comfortable in that spot so they can participate in corruption or financial crimes. All court hearings and records should be public, except if both parents agree to close it up, then it should not be public. What I can say that this tragedy, what happened to me, can happen to anywhere, to anyone and everywhere in the United States. And by telling my story, I hope not only to correct the injustices and wrongs in my life and my children, but I also hope to help prevent these injustices from happening to other people and children. Thank you. My name is Yevgenia Shockome.